I have a boyfriend. We've been together for about 7 months now. It started out really good. He held doors open for me, bought me expensive gifts, and just treated me really well. It didn't last very long. He started becoming extremely controlling. Asked me who I was sending certain pictures to, was going through my phone every day and had me send him screenshots of my messages. I figured it wasn't too big of a deal at first, and that maybe he just had relationship trust issues. As time went by, it got more aggressive. We ended up moving into a house together about 5 months in. That's when everything went downhill. We both worked at the same place. That's how we met. He started behaving really weird. He got mad when I didn't call him all day at work. He started throwing things at me in the work van. It was just little things here and there. He eventually made me quit my job and had me stay at home all day. My vehicle ended up breaking down and I just didn't have the money to fix it. So I was stuck at home with nowhere to go. He started throwing more things at me, such as glass bottles, cans, vapes, etc. I guess I was just hoping it would get better, that he would change, but it just got worse. One morning when we had woken up, he wanted me to get in the shower with him. We were both in the bathroom and I told him that I didn't want to. He tried to force me into the bathroom by picking me up and trying to put me in. I struggled to try and get him to stop. I ended up tapping him on the head to try and get him to let go. He ended up slamming me onto the ground. I ended up getting cuts and bruises all over my legs and arms. A few days later, he didn't want me to sit on our couch. He pulled me by the arm and flung me across the room into the wall. I believe that was the first night the cops were called. My best friend 19F was told the entire thing and tried to save me. When the police showed up, he exited out the back window and hid in the graveyard to escape the police. They weren't able to find him, and he came back to the house after they had left. I went and stayed with my mom for a few days, then went back home. I thought he'd finally realized what he was doing was wrong. A few weeks later, we had gotten into it. We were at the top of the stairs and I had pushed him away from me. He ran over to me and either kicked or pushed me hard into the wall. It was some of the worst pain I had ever felt. I laid on the ground for a few minutes, clutching my shoulder. I knew I had to go to the hospital to get it checked out. My best friend called the police again as he took me to the hospital. He was arrested on site. He remained in jail for about 2-3 days. This time, I had stayed with my mom for about a week. My stepdad called my boyfriend out of anger of what he's done to me. My boyfriend ended up telling my stepdad everything that I had to told him in confidentiality, including that my stepdad used to walk in on me showering. Me and my stepdad ended up getting into a huge fight where he kicked me out. I had nowhere else to go, so I went back to me and my boyfriend's house. When I got back, things were okay for a few days. He was told that would be getting a tether put on, so he wouldn't be allowed near the house. About a month ago, he moved back into my old apartment. This is probably the worst I've been mentally at this point ever. This last month has been absolutely horrible. It's like something switched in his head. He started acting like a completely different person. He started getting mad at everything I do. Then, stay mad for hours, even when I try to apologize. His DV got worse. He'd start ripping my hair out and pushing me around after he had gotten mad at me for something so small. He tells me we're breaking up multiple times a day now and how much he doesn't want to be with me anymore. He downloads Tinder when he's mad and starts making an account right in front of me. I also found a charge on his card for a nightclub in the middle of the night. He denied ever going there, but then I found out his location was there at the same time. He tells me I need to do everything he tells me to do, or he'll break up with me. He treats me like a dog. I'm fully dependent on him financially right now. If leaving right now was an option, I'd do it. I cry almost every day and I'm so defeated. He forces me to have sexual relations with him even when I'm on the brink of tears. And he made me block my only friend and told me I can't talk to my mother anymore. He's also threatened to unalive me. I'm scared. Is there any hope of fixing things?
Next story. His past fall, I developed a crush on a classmate of mine at school. It was really innocent at first. I saw her at a football game tailgate and couldn't take my eyes off, interested in talking to her more. During a party, I and a mutual friend who is very close with her were very drunk, and I expressed my attraction. She got very excited and was very on board with the idea. However, she was too drunk and told me that her dad had passed away a few years earlier, but that she had taken a gap year in Europe and had gotten over everything. This not only came out of the blue, but was something she didn't remember telling me afterwards. From then on, that crush turned from something entirely innocent into an avenue for me to try and get over my own trauma. Ever since I was 10, my mother has been a chronic alcoholic. Rehab, memory loss, bipolar episodes, drunk driving, foes sibling, the works. Funnily enough, at the time, I was in therapy for all of this, because I too went to Europe. Not for a year, but for a few months. And I got depressed because nothing seemed to change regarding my feelings despite being so far away. I should also say that a big part of the reason I was in therapy was because my previous relationship ended because I didn't know how to tell my partner or anyone outside of my family what was going on in my life. There was no trust, honesty, or intimacy. We broke up because I didn't know how to balance her and my mom. I didn't want her being my therapist, and the breakup tore me apart. Therapy wasn't very helpful, but I thought maybe this new girl had the answers I was looking for. Maybe she had figured it out. I thought all of this was extremely selfish and problematic, so I held off for months. I did try making normal conversation once or twice in completely appropriate settings, and I was just brushed off. I asked my therapist if I was wrong for feeling problematic, and she said, not at all. I told our mutual friend who had wondered why I had held off what my reasoning was, and they also told me that I was fine. But still, I thought I was crazy. Hey, I know this is crazy, but I'm interested in you because I think your experience with your dad could help me with my experience with my mom, and I was wondering if we could go out sometime. Who would do such a thing? Who would approach someone and say that? I did. At this point, we were about 4 months after that revealing conversation. Everyone in our circles knew that I had attraction for this girl, and it had gotten to a boiling point. So, expecting the worst, but just wanting to be honest and get it over with, I pulled her off to the side at a party, gave the above speech, and guess what? Her mom is an alcoholic to her friends. Do not know this, but that she didn't really think about all of the stuff that went on at home, and that she was over it. All of this was extremely shocking to the both of us. Her friends were leaving this party and wanted her to come with. She explained that I brought up her dad to them, and that freaked them out, understandably. They were trying to convince her to leave, but she insisted on staying and talking with me, which she did. Her friends just asked that I walk her home afterwards, and very strangely did not seem mad. I was ecstatic. Again, I went from thinking this girl could solve all my problems, to thinking she's gonna call me crazy, to holy shit, she is the Messiah. I couldn't believe it. I got her phone number and hit the Goodwill Hunting Apples line to one of my friends. I was so happy. We both had smiles on our faces talking about our problematic mothers, and for the first time in years, I thought everything was going to be all right. The night went on, we played a game of Pong, and being so new to one another, I didn't really know what else to talk about. For really no good reason, I suggested we go band for band or trying to one-up one another with who had the worst trauma. Looking back on this, I think I asked to do it to see how much we really had in common. Here is where this unfortunately turned into trauma dumping from both of us. Worst of all, I feel like I might have slightly pressured her into sharing things she wasn't comfortable with, saying things she had never shared with anyone. Stuff along the lines of, you can tell me and I want to know which sound good enough, but the tone behind them may not have been. To be fair though, there was no clear pushback from her. There was never a clear, hey, I don't want to talk about this, which I say pretty instinctively whenever someone gets close to figuring me out. Furthermore, I think I treated that conversation with much less respect than it should have had. Obviously, this is something that we should have waited to talk about, and obviously we shouldn't have tried one-upping one another. That was beyond idiotic of me. Some of things she told me shocked me because I couldn't believe that this is how someone dealt with their issues. For example, she woke up to the death of her father and went to school that same morning and acted like nothing happened. I had a visible reaction to hearing that which resembled shock. I may have even ever so slightly chuckled at it. I was in such disbelief. I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that this is how someone learned to deal with their problems and that they weren't affecting them. But The deeper we went into this conversation, the more I realized that she had learned to deal with her problems by avoiding them. At that point, it was too late. I didn't know how far back the line I crossed was, but I had a very strong feeling that this girl was deeper in the shit than I was. She hadn't tried dealing with them at all, she just avoids them. She was in denial that she hadn't dealt with them. I switched up the conversation to something else. She said she had to leave, and so I walked her back home. She said I didn't have to walk her back, but I insisted because her friends told me to, and that maybe I could apologize. We got back to her dorm, and I didn't know whether or not to acknowledge what happened. If it was a mistake to bring it up again, should I go for one more, even if it is to say I'm sorry? I didn't say that, and instead just wished her a good night and went on my way. For the next week or so, I got really mixed signals. I texted her saying, "Hey, I know last night was a lot, but I had a good time talking to you," or something like that. 22 hours later, I got a text back saying she had a good time too, but it didn't seem all too engaging. At this point, I thought it was very obvious that she wasn't interested and that a line really was crossed. All of my friends, who didn't know what happened that night regarding our trauma, had gotten the impression from her after the fact that she was interested and were very insistent upon it. I even explained that instinctually I thought it wasn't going anywhere and that she wasn't really texting me back. Everyone just told me, oh, her being a slow texter is just how she is, and that she had told them that she was interested. She, on the other hand, continued to give very mixed signals. Added and then unadded me on Snapchat, allegedly. She denied this claim, but ISTG, this happened, avoided me in public sometimes, but seemed open to conversation in others. I got frustrated and asked her what was going on. It was a defensive conversation on both ends. "You're not really talking to me," and she responded with, "You aren't talking to me." With a look of confusion on both of our faces, I then just straight up asked her if she did want to go out at all, because that's what my friends were saying so confidently. She told me that my friends had misunderstood what she was saying and that she wanted to wait before getting back to me. As you can probably guess, she wants to be friends. We do not talk. After the fact, I did in fact confirm that the later part of our big conversation was in fact the turnoff. I had realized that I trauma dumped, I potentially pressured her into dumping, and that I may have been disrespectful during that conversation itself. All of this led me to only wanting to apologize more, but at this point it was clear she didn't want anything to do with me. She actively avoids me when we're in proximity to one another. Truth be told, I do the same. I've gone back to therapy, this time with someone who I not only trust more, but is doing a much better job in IMO. He's been very validating, but has only told me maybe some things you shouldn't have done in regards to being in the wrong. I don't regret bringing up her dad in the first place, but I understand that later. Conversation should have happened much later and much differently. To whom it may apply, I am so sorry.